here now with two students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School who survived the shooting at their high school, of course. They're now taking action, helping to lead the March for Our Lives, protesting gun violence in Washington, just a couple of days away now, in cities around the country. Let's take a look at this PSA you're seeing for the first time right here in GMA.
What if we stood up as Americans and fought for our freedom and our children's lives?
Everybody is saying politicians who are corrupt, politicians who are accepting money from these organizations, you can't run from us. We are the people who voted you in, and we are the people who will vote you out.
Wow, pretty powerful. The hashtag What If, and we're joined now by both Ryan Deitsch and Alex Wynn. Good to have you both here. You know, I want to ask, because that PSA really hit something that I think a lot of people often say about young people is that, oh, they're young people, they're not going to get anything done. But Ryan, I'm curious about that hashtag and what you think about the power of young voices together like yours.
Well, personally, I just think like young voices everywhere, they're just as equal as any other voice. That, I mean, in this country, we have the freedom to say whatever we want, and we have to use that to our ability, to the best of our ability, to be able to spread messages that we have to spread to make the world a better place.
And have you seen how powerful your voice is, Alex, when you get the sheer numbers of people involved that you've seen?
Yeah, definitely. We have over 800 marches around the world now, on almost every continent, basically.
Getting Antarctica.
We're getting Antarctica together.
Yeah.
And it just shows that, the youth are the future. One day we're going to have a president from our generation, and we're trying to make the change before that happens.
We've always known that the youth is the future, and you guys definitely are. I'm curious, last week we saw that walkout across the country, high schools all over the country. Some students were disciplined for that, and so not everyone saw eye to eye on whether or not students should walk out. What did you make of that, Ryan?
Well, I've heard some students were paddled, some students, even the anti-protesters, were pushed out, and I thought that was tragic. It was awful. I mean, we sort of expected something to happen because this is definitely an event that has uproar, but at the same time, I just think that everybody should be able to say what they want to say and do what they want to do. Let's
get to what you've seen so far. I know many of you, before you march on Washington in just a couple of days, you already marched on Florida's state capitol. The governor's now signed that into law. It didn't ban assault weapons in Florida, but you did get the age raised to 21. And some teachers can be armed now in the state of Florida. What did you make of sort of, I would guess, a split victory for you, right?
It's not even a split victory. It's a very, very tiny, we maybe scored a point in a game because raising the age to 21, it did something. However, the money to arm teachers is 3 steps back.
It's taken away from the education budget, too. A system that is already underfunded is being taken away for security. Like, it's just ridiculous to see that, because there's so many teachers that need that money, there's so many schools that need that money, and it's going to just cause more violence in the school system.
And people have varied opinions in this country, which also you're fully aware of now that you're part of this fight. You mentioned something, though, about 1 point or a couple of 3 steps back. You realize a marathon and not a sprint when you take up a cause, right?
Yeah, of course, but there's so much more that needs to be done, and there's so much more that can be done that hasn't been done yet.
So tell us about the march. When does it happen? Who can take part?
This Saturday. This Saturday. Like I said, 800 marches worldwide. There's a march in a local city near you, and you can find that by looking at marchforourlives.com and just typing in your zip code, and you'll be able to see, where's the nearest march. And that way you can just go and make your voice heard, because in the end, that's what matters, making our voices heard.
And where are you going to be?
I'll be in D.C.
You're going to be in D.C. too?
Going to be in D.C.
You have that t-shirt on?
Hopefully.
Yeah, so it's March for Our Lives, and you can look up if you want to take part at places around the country. And what do you make of the idea that your voices have gone global now? It's not just this country alone. You mentioned Antarctica, all over the world.